Hello, Cherries fans. Welcome to Back of the Net and the player rating show, which, maybe we could title it differently because I don't know how we're going to rate performances from last night. Unfortunately, went down first defeat of the season at Sheffield Wednesday, 1-0. Yeah, I think many could say the performances haven't been great of late, and maybe that was coming. We've kind of papered over the cracks and got out of jail with bits of magic, whether it be through Roro or Arnie, and kind of getting away with it. And results have kept ticking along, which has allowed us to kind of, maybe just keep that positivity up and just think, we haven't kicked in yet and that'll come. But unfortunately, another poor performance, and we were punished for it last night. Looked like it probably was going to end up in a drab 0-0, and then obviously a penalty, arguably a soft one that resulted in a red card for Steve Kirk, and they took the penalty and thoroughly deserved the win at the end of the day. And difficult one. I was hoping for a bit of positivity after lockdown 2 confirmed and all that, but unfortunately wasn't to be. But we'll crack on and do our best to rate the players. I've got a guest for me tonight, which I'm sure many of you will recognise from other pods and for the free-for-all and stuff like that. I've got Craig Beazley with me. Nice to see you, Craig.
And you as well, Tom. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, mate, considering. I was going to throw one to you, actually, before we kind of get into the ratings of the players. I was thinking about it, and with the 5 changes we made last night, I was thinking that it's a difficult balance, isn't it, between you looked at the team on paper and you thought, that's a really exciting lineup. And in hindsight, you could say there wasn't much cohesion. They looked like a team that hadn't really played together, especially the front three. And it's getting that balance, isn't it, between having that cohesion and the connections with the players, but also rotating because it's a long, hard season. I don't know what you made of that. I mean, I thought the lineup looked good, but do you agree that it just didn't look like we had that cohesion?
Yeah, I think the lineup was, did look very good on paper. The only change I probably would have made was put Stacey in from the start, because so far this season, he's been very, very good. But yeah, it was incredibly disappointing against a team who, I know some people have already disagreed with me on Twitter about this, but who personally I think will be in the bottom 3 at the end of the season, with or without that points deduction.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, I know obviously they've had the points deduction, but I think even without that, they're level. I think before the game they would have been level with Coventry, still near the bottom. Obviously lost to Wickham. I know you can lose games, individually, and it wasn't like, I thought they pressed us well and they worked hard, but they weren't brilliant. I agree with you. I still don't think they're a team. I think they'll probably fight, but I expect them to be in amongst it all the way till the end. Especially, I think if supporters are there, that would really help them. They're quite a big club and they can get the fan base and they're cheering them on. But yeah, I wasn't overly impressed. I didn't think they were a lot better than any of the teams. Put it this way, we're saying how bad we were and they only won the game for a penalty. We were only in that game because they weren't punishing us because they weren't good enough. Yeah, can't disagree with you on that, mate. We'll do our best to get stuck into the player ratings anyway. I'll give you probably one of the only players that can't really be given any fault on the performance, and that's the keeper Asmir Begovic. There's not too much you can say on him, I suppose, but what do you rate Begovic and what did you think of his performance on the night?
To be honest, he didn't really have much to do. Sheffield Wednesday didn't really put him under any real pressure until the penalty, which it's always going to be a 50-50. He went the wrong way, and that's what's won them the game, like you say. So I can't fault Begovic at all. What he did have to do, he did well. I think probably a 7 out of 10.
I think that's fair, Craig. I think that's fair to chuck in a 7 for Begovic. Like you say, probably one of the only players that you can't really fault too much of the performance. I'll get into the right centre-back, which is Chris Mepham, and I think he's been a bit below par. He made the mistake against Cardiff a few weeks ago and then kind of rectified it with the late goal against Watford. Thought he was poor on the weekend, and I thought he looked really shaky last night. I like Meps, but I think at the moment, he's got too many errors in him, and he gives the ball away in dangerous errors sometimes and makes a few... I think early on in the game, like we were saying, I don't think Sheffield Wednesday have a lot of quality, really, but they're decent from set pieces, and he was giving away some silly fouls, and I was thinking, use your head a little bit, Meps. But yeah, I didn't think it was a good performance. I'm probably going to give him a 4 Do you think that's fair, Craig?
Yeah, I think, like you say, he has got some silly errors in him. I think he's a player that might be a little bit short on confidence at the moment as well. Yeah. And in the Premier League, I did make the point last night, you get a little bit more time on the ball. In the Championship, teams are right up in your face. And I think that's where the better teams, which we are one of, do get unstuck in this division.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think Meps is probably a player that, like you say, because of that high press that a lot of them Championship teams have, he does seem to want a lot of time on the ball at the back. So I probably agree with that. I'm going to give him a 4, and that's probably fair. I don't think that's harsh or too polite either, to be fair. We'll go into the centre now, and obviously didn't finish the game, but Stevie Kirk obviously got sent off. It was like I mentioned briefly at the start, and we spoke about it's probably a bit harsh. But what did you rate on Cookie, on the penalty decision and the red card, and on his performance on the whole? Because he's probably been one of our better players so far, hasn't he?
Oh, most definitely. I've always rated Cookie from before the Premier League years as well. He has got the odd error in him. He does do this odd daft thing. To be honest, I think and again, some people disagree with me on this, I think he was harshly done by last night. And as we were speaking about it, the player went down too easily because he knew Cookie was going to get there. If he didn't, all it took was nudge. He went down. Apart from that, before, he seemed quite solid. He did seem quite solid. To be fair, the back three were probably the best players on the pitch from last night. I think he was harshly done by for the penalty and the sending off. The referee could have given a penalty. Yes, it was the last man. However, there wasn't much contact there.
No.
And for that fact, I think I'll give Cookie a 5 out of 10.
Okay. I think that's fair. I think, like you say, he wasn't doing an awful lot wrong before that. And we mentioned beforehand, didn't we? I think it's a really difficult one to judge because I thought it was soft and harsh, the penalty. But then would I have been screaming for it was the other end? Probably. So, difficult one. I'll get into Lloyd Kelly, who, to be honest, I probably agree with you out of the gist of it, that probably defence were better. But I personally thought on the ball as well, I thought Lloyd Kelly was awful. I like Lloyd Kelly. I don't know. I think since he's returned, I've almost looked at him and thought, actually, I think Diego Rico was doing a better job at left centre-back, personally. I don't know if it was opposition and, other things, but I genuinely didn't think he was very good at the weekend. And it's like I say, I think from that system as well, we seem to look relatively solid. We don't look like conceding loads of goals. But we do have to remember that for whether it's a penalty or not, they got in behind with just one straight ball of a back three, which was disappointing. But I thought more it was on the ball. I thought Lloyd was just getting the ball. We were kind of Mepham to Cook to Kelly lump, and it was really frustrating. And I think Lloyd, he set that bar quite high when he came into the Premier League. I thought looked like he was going to be so good at this level, and I don't think he's been very good. I really don't. So I'm going to be quite harsh on Lloyd, I think, and give him a 3, but because I thought he was the poorest of the back three, and I think with our rating so far, I think it's fair to give him the lowest. What did you make of Lloyd anyway? I'm going to give him a 3, but
to be perfectly honest, I can't disagree with that. It's a shame because at the start of the season he did look very, very solid, and we were saying before when Ake left, he was the ideal replacement.
Exactly.
He was perfect. Last night he showed anything but, and it was really disappointing. His passing was atrocious at times. There was one pass that he played straight in to the centre, and it wasn't going nowhere. I don't know who he was aiming for, but there was none of our players around. And
I think sometimes with just to kind of caveat that and give Lloyd, trying to work it out because we know he's a good player. It must be quite quite difficult when you're that left centre back of a three, and 1 week you've got Diego Rico, who's obviously left-footed and trying to get that, and then the other week you've got Adam Smith, who's right-footed, and it must be quite difficult for Lloyd when he gets the ball. He must have, with Smithy and with Rico, it must be completely different to what kind of pass is on. And I do wonder if that might be playing into it a little bit, where he's, do you know what I mean? Whether Diego's trying to get, bomb on and want the ball down the channel, whereas Smithy's coming to get it more, if you know what I'm saying. That probably isn't helping, like we're saying, with the rotation side of it. But we'll go to the right, and obviously Smithy went back to his normal side. What did you think of Smithy, Craig?
Again, I think he was below par. He didn't really create that much. Defensively, I think he was fairly solid. I think more was coming down the left, at the start of the game. However, yes, Smithy was, again, below par. And at the moment, how it is, if I had to pick between him and Stacey, I'd pick Stacey all day long. But we know Smithy's a good player. We know he can do it. And that's what's frustrating with a performance like that yesterday. To be honest, it didn't help that there were so many players below par. But yeah, I've got to go. I'll be generous and give him a 4 for the defensive work. The attacking work, though, was non-existent. I would have all day long put Stacey there.
Yeah, can't disagree with that. I think we've already kind of mentioned with Stacey and with Lewis Cook that we'll come on to kind of players that were using that rotation, because they definitely weren't dropped, because both of them been quite consistent. And I wonder if, like we're saying, with that balance of trying to rotate, do you rotate two of the most consistent players this season at the same time? Probably not for me.
No.
Difficult one. I wouldn't know stats wise, but because of the cup games as well, Stacey's probably played one of the most minutes for us. So I thought he was probably going to come out at some point. But I tell you what, he'd have been sat on that bench yesterday thinking, I'm straight back in, aren't I? No worries. So that was there to see. I'll get to Diego on the left-hand side, and I mentioned that I think he's actually been doing a decent job when he was playing the left centre-back. I thought it was one of his, like with all of them really, one of his poorer games. Diego's one of them players. Stats-wise, I saw that on stats alone, the championship team of the season so far, he's in it. He's got one of the most interceptions in the league. And I like Diego, and he's got a lot of things that I really like about him. I feel for him again because he's suddenly going from playing as one of the centre halves to then wing back, and then he's on the bench, and he can't really get any sort of consistency in that. He wasn't one of the worst players, but equally he wasn't up to his levels. I don't think him and Kelly had that connection, had that relationship down that left side. And I was a little bit, even though he wasn't playing, I was a little bit surprised, not necessarily with Stacey coming on late, but Rico coming off, because I thought when you got 10 men, you just hope you've been playing awful and you just need a goal. Just keep Rico on for his crosses alone, really. But yeah, I wasn't impressed with Diego, but he wasn't one of the worst. I'm probably going to give him, because I don't want to be too hard on him because he was poor. I'm going to give him a 4. But what did you make on Diego overall last night?
Yeah, I think you normally know what you're going to get from him. But again, he was below par. His crossing was a lot better than... Wow, I can't remember. Did Smithy even get a crossing?
Not like I remember, mate.
But at least he was trying to make things happen.
You can never argue with Diego's commitment to the cause, can you? Do you know what I mean? I'll give him that.
Exactly. Yeah. So
I'll let you have my favourite boy. I was really pleased to see Jeff back, but
yes,
yeah. What did you think of Jeff? Definitely looked a bit rusty for me.
Yeah, he did. You could see that passion and desire in him still. But yeah, I think he might still be carrying a slight knock. He wasn't himself. Got booked early on, which is never a good thing with Jeff, because
it always takes something away from him, doesn't it?
Yeah, you're walking a tightrope for the rest of the game. And teams know how to wind him up. Although saying that, towards the end, there was that really weird situation that he got involved in, and he kept his cool. And, when, a lot of players would have lost it. If that was Smithy, I think he would have lost it. But he kept his cool. I think, he is rusty. I can't give him too much blame for it. I do like him, in a bit more defensive role, because he does get more stuck in than either Gosling or Lewis. So I'll give him, I think probably out of the outfield players, I'll give him the most generous mark. I'd probably give him a 6.
Yeah, fair enough. I think I would have probably gone for a 5 or 6. I don't think he was one of the worst. I think it's difficult with players like Jeff. Is the bar's so much higher because we know what a quality player, and in this league he should be one of the best centre midfield players. So probably not fair just to rate him even lower because of what he did. I think on the night, if you had never watched Bournemouth before, you probably would have said he was doing his job better than most of the players out there. But yeah, just because we know what Jeff can give us, he was definitely below par. We can almost a little bit kind of give him a little bit of leeway because he's been out with that hamstring injury. But his partner was Dan Gosling on the night. Really, obviously, as we mentioned, kind of rotated Lewis Cook and Billing was out, which I'm sure you will agree was a nice thing. But Gozzo, I love Goz. I think you know what you're going to get from Dan Gosling. But in a game where we had a lot of the ball, especially in the first half, and we didn't do a lot with it, I thought he was one that just didn't do anything of any note. His passing was off. He always runs around and works hard, but I didn't think he had a good game at all. I didn't think he made any impact on the game. And what I will say with Goz, we always know he's not going to be the best passer, the silkiest player on the pitch. But he gets closer to the front three. He can make them runs into the box, them late runs. And he wasn't doing that. He wasn't getting close enough. Don't know whether that was instructions from the manager or him, but I didn't think he was quite on his levels. I think it's a difficult one whether to go as low as. I'm going to go 4, but I wasn't impressed with Goz at all. What did you think?
I wasn't impressed. We know he can do so much more. He is quite. But to be honest, this season I think he's been inconsistent. But before that point, in the Premier League years, you always knew what you was going to get from him.
He's consistent, wasn't he?
Yeah. I think he's been inconsistent this season. He's had some good games, but then some real shockers. And last night, to be fair, he was ineffective all match. He did run around a lot, but you can run around to your heart's content, but if you're not going to do anything with it,
more than that, I was actually similarly to what you were saying there. I remember when I was speaking to Sam, actually, I said to him that with Goz this season, obviously we remember the Coventry game, and he seems to have like a really good performance, and then you almost can guarantee his next performance will be poor. That's what he's coming in and out of the side, because he's really good and then he's really poor, and which, like you say, is really surprising because I would have put the consistent brand name on him. But yeah, not happening for him. Yeah, I agree with what you said there. I'll give you Arnie, who I don't know what you think, but I think he's in danger of being known as this kind of super sub who can impact the game. And you ain't going to play many games if you like that. But he's making more of an impact when he comes on late and maybe the defenders are tiring. But from the off, I think he's looked poor lately. And I don't know what you thought.
He was terrible last night. I thought he had ice skates on, to be perfectly honest. And, in the first half, he got himself into good positions. I'll give him that. But then he turned and slipped over. And he did that on a couple of occasions. Yeah. It wasn't happening for him last night. He seemed completely out of place. And that's not what we've, grown to expect this year from Arnout, because he's, against Blackburn, he was very, very good. And, I thought, well, this guy is going to absolutely tear up this championship. But last night was poor. I'm sure if some Sheffield Wednesday fans saw footage of him beforehand, they would have gone, "Oh, crikey! Now he's a decent player. He's the standout player for Bournemouth." But last night, he just wasn't in the game. And we know it's not a confidence thing with him. I think he will bounce back, but he is going to, like you say, he's probably going to be one of those players which is more effective from the bench, which is a real shame because he can do so much. I'd love to see, 90 minutes, of him intensively playing, like he has done. When he's come off the bench, he'd be a real threat. But at the moment, well, based on yesterday's performance, I think I've probably got to go as low as a 2 because he did nothing.
Yeah,
really.
No, he was absolutely. Yeah, he was hopeless last night, and it's a real shame. And I do think that's another one where I've said about a few that we've mentioned on here with that cohesion and that because of that rotation. I think that he was almost, as much as Dom wasn't getting the goals and was getting his criticism, it seemed like when he was with Dom was occupying defenders, and he was kind of. And I just don't think. Him and King have really had any sort of. It just doesn't seem right, does it? I don't know if they're two players that want to do the same sort of thing. But what I will say is he's got to take responsibility. And I thought last night we didn't run at any defence. You want Arnie to kind of grab the game by the scruff of the neck and go, "I can beat this fullback." Do you know what I mean? Have a run at him, and it didn't happen.
But he didn't do any of that, like you say. And with the quality or the lack of quality that Sheffield Wednesday had, you would have thought, well, he's going to have a field day. Because I picked out, the first 10 minutes, they were a pretty poor side. And I can see how Wickham and Rotherham beaten.
I mean, you went low for Arnie there, and I'm going to do the same for David Brooks because I will definitely firstly say that he hasn't played much football. But I saw when he come on at the weekend him kind of say in his interview afterwards that he really wanted to play earlier and he had to bide his time. So he obviously feels he's ready. And I tell you what, I mean, in that first half hour, I thought, I've never seen the guy give the ball away so much. He was shocking. I thought, I couldn't believe it was David Brooks I was watching. He was getting the ball. I think there was one time where he played it across our own 6-yard box. But what is he doing? Didn't beat a man. I thought he was really, really poor, especially similarly to what you were saying about Arnie. The expectations are high with Brooksy, and we know what he can give. And whether he wants to show how good a player he is, whether he wants to move, I don't care. Whatever it is, you've got to show more than that against Sheffield Wednesday. I thought he was really ineffective, really poor, and I certainly didn't think when we needed a goal that I would have agreed that Brooksy had to come off. I think that says a lot. So I'm going to go same as what you gave Arnie because I thought he was just as poor. So I'm going to give Brooksy a 2. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I can't disagree at all. It was the worst performance I've seen Brooksy play, and it's such a shame. I thought he would be all guns blazing. Seeing this used to play for Sheffield United, and how highly he spoke of them, I thought he's going to be all guns blazing. But he just seems so out of sorts. Is he still injured? Or you've got to question what's going on training pitch, really.
I'll do that. We'll get into the last one. I'll let you take on.
Oh dear. Absolutely ineffective. To be fair, I was missing Solanke after about half an hour, and that's saying something. I don't think Josh wants to be here. I honestly don't. I don't think his heart's in it. When there was some 50-50 decisions, he put his hand up a lot, tried to win decisions for us, but he didn't do much. He didn't get stuck in. He wasn't the Josh King of last year. Now, he's never been a prolific striker like Callum was, but at the same time, he's a lot better than that.
And we dropped down a level in terms of leagues as well. You would have thought he can really, he was linked with, not too long ago, linked with United and things like that. And you're thinking, I don't know what you think, Craig. I can't, because I probably agreed with a lot of people when he played kind of in that 10 role. I used to think, a bit Wednesday, he's probably not a number 10. Then I've seen him wide, and I thought he does a job wide, but is he a wide man? Probably not. Then we've kind of seen him as that 9, that main striker, and I'm thinking, I don't think he looks that comfortable there. I'm not really sure what his best position is. I wonder if maybe in a 2 up alongside someone, maybe, but I'm not convinced.
No, I'm not. I personally think, well, he's definitely not a number 9. And what's scary about that is that we only might have one number 9, and that is that's Surridge.
Yes.
And of course, Surridge is still learning. I think we've got to throw him in.
I mean, give me a quick rating on Kingy, and we'll get into Surridge actually. So, gonna go the same as Arnie?
I might even go lower. I've got to give him a 1 because I personally, I think he was poor. And with the reported money that he's on as well, you expect a lot more from him. It's just very, very disappointing how somebody can play as well as against the top teams in the Premier League, and then when we get relegated, then play against Sheffield Wednesday, who are amongst the worst teams. And I stand by it. They will be in the bottom 3. They will be in the bottom 3.
Yeah, no, I can't do that too much. And I think what's key to say is I think I agree with you, and obviously I've done the same. I think that the front players were really, really poor and deserved the lowest of the ratings. What I will say, just to counter that, is I don't think they got enough support either. Just put that out. I don't think they were given an awful lot to work on, but you can't just stand there and throw your hands up in the air and say, where's, you've got them 3 players, Brooksy, Arnie and King are full of quality, and they've got to grab the game by the scruff of the neck. So I think they're deserving of them points. I'm not even going to bother really. I don't think any of the subs, they should all just get kind of, standard 5 forward, because they didn't do a lot wrong. They didn't have much time to impact it. So what I was going to get into quickly with you, Craig, was because you briefly touched on it there. We're talking about Dom, and I totally agree with you that after half hour, I was thinking we're missing Dom here, just for them connections, just for, give us something different. Josh has come into the side, doesn't look great. If I was Sam Surridge, I would be, didn't make the squad last night, by the way. I would be knocking on Jason's door and saying, look, Jace, we're not scoring goals, we're not taking chances, the strikers haven't performed. Give me a couple of games, because if I can't get in the team now, when am I ever going to get in the team? I might as well go out on loan. Give me a couple of games to prove to you that I could be the person that puts the ball in the back of the net. I don't know what you think, but I'd be more than happy to see JT go, you know what, I'm going to give him a chance. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think, if you played him up front on his own, with maybe Solanke dropped off a little bit, Solanke can still do that link-up play, which he does do well. He's not going to, and I agree with Kirk, he's not going to be our 20-goal a season striker, Solanke. No way. I don't think King will be, but I don't think King will be here past January at this rate. But personally, I think, Surridge will get us goals. He did well for Swansea last year.
He did, and
badly at all.
Probably, yes, you can see the opposition, but I'm thinking, we saw last night with the opposition, I think probably our best performance from an offensive point of view was that Coventry game, where we actually played with Surridge and Solanke, didn't we? And
we did,
yeah, like you say, I don't think Coventry were great, so we got to put that into consideration. But Surridge will say, look, you gave me the chance in that game, and I felt I delivered. And yeah, it would be something that would be interesting. I certainly think he deserves to be in amongst it a bit more. We've got competition for places, but when King, Brooks and these players weren't fit, Surridge was getting minutes and doing well, and we were doing better. So that's something for JT to look at. We're going to have to, Craig, try our best. I'll give my opinion on a man of the match, but we can't just avoid it. I'm going to be creative, right? So, I'm tempted to give it to Carter Vickers, because he ain't bothered turning up for these poor performances. He deserves a shout. My 2 creative thoughts are, 1, Steve Cook decided it was so poor that he was just going to remove himself from the situation, right? And secondly, my man Crush Jefferson Lerma, when all things were going bad, thought, I'll at least try and make it even and go 10 aside and wind him up a little bit. And he managed to do that. So they're my little points, because we can't do anything really apart from, like you mentioned at the start, just going Begovic because he wasn't playing outfield. But go on, I'll let you just try somehow to give us a man of the match, Craig.
Well, we can rule out the front three. Definitely. I think Cookie, until he sending off, did well.
Amazing,
I think he did do well.
We're giving man of the match to the player that got sent off, and I can't even disagree with you. I mean, that's how bad it was, mate.
But then again, I think, there is, there is some things that you could give it to Lerma as well, to give it to Sheff. I would give it to Cookie solely because he was quite solid at the back.
I think when you're as poor as you were last night, that's where it's frustrating because you should be giving more. The only thing you can do really is give it to the players that you think were just putting a shift in and you knew that you could rely on them. And I think probably Cookie, Rico, Sheff, you kind of get that. And so I can't disagree with you there, mate. I'm sure it's good to see you on here, mate, and good to see you on the free-for-all last night. And I'm sure we'll get you back at some point. I was gutted. I think, it's going to be good to have a show with Craigie, and then we but yeah, great to have you on. I'm sure we'll chat again soon, mate.
Most definitely, mate. Definitely. And I'll be here on Saturday, hopefully in better circumstances.
Definitely, mate. And I'll whack your Twitter and stuff like that down below, and people can go and give Craig a follow if you haven't before. But that's it for the rating show today, guys. I'm sorry that it had to be a bit of a low one. I mean, I was wondering if we even had the numbers that low. We haven't had to use them yet. But like I say, it was a poor one. And as we've mentioned there, we've probably been quite poor of late and got out of jail with bits of magic. And maybe it's that wake-up call we need. It's all right when you're getting away with it, when you can just get out of jail late on. But let's see what JT and the players, how the reaction can be. I'm glad that we're not going straight into an international break, going to the Birmingham game on Saturday, and let's see what that reaction is and see what the team is. I'm interested to see that side of things. Cookie will be out for a game. Will he change the system? Will he bring in a Simpson? Will he give Carter Vickers a go? All things that we'll find out on Saturday. Give us your comments below and what you thought on the ratings. Were we too harsh? Were we too nice? Let's see what you think on that. Obviously going into lockdown 2 now as well. So let's hope. I thought Back of the Net in particular were great in that first lockdown period, particularly, really kept me going. And that football chat and football debate is really healthy. And feel free to @TomJordan21 if you want to talk about it. If you want to get on at some point, more than happy to have new fans, existing fans, and just come on and have a chat. But also just a quick plug for @Cherries Talking, involved with them. And we're doing the Step Challenge for Mind Charity. For all things mental health, really. Just so if you want to go and check them guys out, and if you can spare a few quid for a donation, we'll much appreciate it. But yeah, keep your spirits up, and I'll see you Sunday when we're back to winning ways. Cheers all, up the Cherries.